Hey folks, Jordan with the Young Turks and TYT Politics, coming to you from my kitchen and wearing a interesting hat. It is not a Donald Trump hat. It is a Make America Sane Again hat. My uncle actually patented it and made these hats. So I am not a reborn Trump supporter. This is Make America Sane Again. If you like it, let me know in the comments, and I'll give you a link where you could buy them. Now, I was actually going to take today off, but I am so pissed off, I had to tell you. I did not want to yell at my dog or vent to my dog, so I figured I will talk to you, my viewers, about more injustice happening in America. But before I do that, I want to give you guys a heads up. Go to youtube.com/TYTpolitics. That's youtube.com/TYTpolitics. We just put up a really cool montage from our Disappearing Middle Class tour. If you remember, I believe at the end of September, maybe beginning of October, we went to Pennsylvania, Ohio, Michigan, Wisconsin, and did a Midwest tour where we spoke with actual people, viewers, all sorts of people that contacted Emma and I about their struggle, about the economic injustice screwing them, about just average bread and table, table issues, working 2 to 3 jobs, student loan debt, the workers getting squeezed. So we've been working on this montage for a while, and it's up on youtube.com/TYTpolitics. I'm hoping that goes viral. I'm hoping Bernie Sanders sees it. Because I would like to get people to really visually see. It's not sexy. The disappearing middle class. Cable news doesn't cover it, but I want you guys to see this is what's actually going on in America. Thank you, Rosalie. You say I'm looking thinner. I actually gained 5 pounds, Rosalie. So I am not thinner. I gotta, being in North Dakota for a month won't make you skinnier. Not exactly healthy options, but I'm gonna work on losing weight. If you're just coming, the hat is Make America Sane Again. If you like it, say yes or no in the comments. I'll find out where you can buy one. It's actually my uncle made these hats. He has the patent on it. Make America Sane Again. Now, I don't want to depress you on Christmas Eve, or what our friends from Seinfeld call Christmaka. But there was a story that came out today that I think shows we all know this country is an oligarchy. We all know that this country and our representatives don't represent us. But I think what's even more egregious is 2 more banks got off scot-free for their illegal, greedy behavior, their fraud, their screwing of people who have been working for 20, 30, 40, 50 years. Getting off scot-free, while water protectors in North Dakota are getting arrested, charged with misdemeanors or felonies for praying. This is America, folks. This is the country we live in. You screw people out of your money, you defraud people, you con people, we're going to fine you a couple $1 billion. Yeah, we'll lose the money. We'll lose the money now, then we'll go back to those same practices. And now we have Donald Trump, so yeah, we'll pay the money up front. We're going to make double the money we have to pay in fines. But water protectors, protesters, progressives who fight for their water, who fight for people's land, who fight for economic, environmental, social justice, you might go to jail. Let me read you the story. U.S. hits Credit Suisse and Deutsche Bank with toxic debt penalties. Credit Suisse and Deutsche Bank have been hit with a combined penalty of more than $12 billion over the sale of U.S. toxic debt, further hampering 2 of Europe's leading investment banks as they struggle with weak economic earnings. The penalties stem from an initiative launched by U.S. President Barack Obama to pursue banks for selling subprime debt without warning of the risks, a practice that led to the worst economic crisis since the Great Depression. Yeah, because Obama really pursued those banks. Give me a fucking break. Credit Suisse agreed to pay more than $5.2 billion in a deal with U.S. authorities, and the penalty is likely to push it to a second consecutive annual loss. The payment to settle claims that it misled investors when selling mortgage-backed securities in the run-up to the 2008 financial crisis is split into two parts. It will first pay $2.48 billion and later provide $2.8 billion over the 5 years to offset the impact on consumers, the bank said. That news came after Deutsche Bank agreed to a total of $7.2 billion for its pooling and sale of toxic mortgage securities. The settlement also divided into a similar manner. The German bank had previously said that the Department of Justice was seeking twice that figure. Quote, "I think the fines are reasonable and represent a positive for the system," said Alberto Gallo, head of global macro strategies at a hedge fund, Algebris Investments. The penalties put the two European banks at a further disadvantage to larger U.S. rivals, many of whom have already observed their own fines for such wrongdoing and have strong capital cushions. U.S. banks earlier paid $46 billion in such penalties. All right, so let me give you the totals before I go further. You should know, 35 bankers were sent to prison for financial crimes dating to 2008. Oh, really? Because I've never heard of those 35 bankers. By the way, it's closer to 60 billion in penalties that the banks have paid. CNN story. The idea that no bankers went to prison for crimes related to the financial crisis is a myth, according to the watchdog overseeing the federal government's bailout fund. There have been 35 bankers sentenced to prison, said Christy Goldsmith Romero, the Special Inspector General for the Troubled Assets Relief Program, in a report to Congress. More than $400 billion in TARP funds were distributed to the banks that were in danger of failing during the financial crisis. The TARP Inspector General has been prosecuting cases of fraud in the use of those funds. Many of the crimes involved relatively small amounts of money in smaller banks, rather than massive fraud at Wall Street banks. But there are top executives who are sitting in jail for substantial sentences today. Hey, have you heard of Edward Woodard, former CEO of the Bank of the Commonwealth in Norfolk, Virginia? Was sentenced to 23 years after he was convicted of hiding $800 million in past due loans. There have been 59 bankers convicted of crimes, including 2 executives at Nova Bank in Philadelphia, who were convicted on Wednesday of fraud conspiracy related to TARP funds. Yeah, bankers from banks you've never heard of that defrauded people but don't really contribute that much to our political candidates, they're in jail. But let me tell you the bankers that you might have heard of. Lloyd Blankfein, Jamie Dimon. This story comes from July of this year. Pay for big bank chief executives shot up 7.6% in 2015, more than 10 times faster than a year earlier, to an average of $13.1 million each. The chiefs of the top 6 U.S. banks did particularly well. You know, the banks that fucked you and stole your money, stole your life savings, they're doing great. The chiefs of the top 6 U.S. banks did particularly well. Their packages rose by an average of just over 10% and are almost twice as large as those of their European rivals, according to an analysis by compensation company Equilar and the Financial Times of the 20 most highly paid international bank chiefs in Europe, the U.S., Canada, and Australia. The escalating growth and widening gap are likely to create political difficulty for U.S. presidential candidate Hillary Clinton. Yeah, it did. The numbers also lend support to the UK's incoming Prime Minister Theresa May's call for binding shareholders' votes on pay. In the U.S., chiefs of J.P. Morgan Chase, Goldman Sachs, Citi, Wells Fargo, Bank of America, and Morgan Stanley were paid an average of $20.7 million last year, including salaries, bonuses they were awarded for 2015 performance. Jamie Dimon of J.P. Morgan again led the field with $27.6 million. So these are the people that screwed you. These are the people that screwed me. These are the people who put out, toxic debt obligations, who conned uneducated or educated people with shoddy mortgages and fine print that you couldn't understand or read. These were the people that sent you a mortgage that looked like you were getting a good deal, but somewhere down in the fine print, it said, in 2 years, the interest rate's going to shoot up 12%. These are the same people that kicked arm and, slammed their fist, screaming like the devil when the U.S. said they're going to have to come into play with the TARP bailout. And they're going to have to actually lend the money out back to people. Did they lend the money back out to people that the U.S. government wrote them a check with no strings attached? Did they lend the money back to people? No, they did not. James says fines are just paper to these guys. You're damn right they are. These banks are still not lending out the money that was given to them. Oh, but the pundits say the banks paid the money back to the U.S. government. Hey, did you get a check in the mail when your 401k went down or you lost your house? Have you gotten a check since they paid the money back? I didn't get a payback. I haven't gotten a check. Say in the comments if you've gotten your check from the United States government, the money that the banks paid back to them, plus interest. I'd love to see that. If you got a check, I will come out and interview you. So, by contrast, the heads of 11 European banks averaged 10.4 million. That number was boosted by 27 million and blah, 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 blah. So now you know about the U.S. bankers who led us into economic ditch. Of course, they were aided by economic policies by Ronald Reagan, by Bill Clinton, and of course by George W. Bush. So the banks get to break the law. As Bernie Sanders said during the campaign, they broke the law, illegal fraud. They pay billions, which is paper money to them. It doesn't even matter. They're going to make it back in 6 months. They pay billions. The U.S. Department of Justice and Obama can then say, see, we're tough on the banks. Oh, wait, CNN reports 35 bankers have put in jail from banks you've never heard of. Meanwhile, I interviewed a water protector from North Dakota last week who, along with several others, went to court because they are being charged with serious crimes like inciting a riot, that in some cases felonies, for standing with Native Americans with no weapons, not holding weapons. They are in risk of going to jail for the crime of trying to protect the water, protect the land, and praying. In most cases, they were arrested while praying peacefully. Bankers defraud you, take billions out of the economy, trillions out of the economy. Yeah, we'll give them a fine, and we'll see you at the cocktail party. We'll see you at the Christmas cocktail party. There's water protectors who are being charged with a felony for driving a DAPL infiltrator who infiltrated into the main Osheti-Sakowee camp. For driving that guy off the road, there's a gentleman who's being charged with a felony. This guy with a gun came into the main camp. He is a DAPL security worker. He was posing as a water protector. People realized, the water protectors realized, this guy doesn't look right. We don't know who he is. When the guy realized they knew who he was, he started running. They chased him off out of the camp. And now one of the guys who drove him off the road is being charged with a felony. Not the guy who infiltrated with a gun into camp. No, they let him off. So you got water protectors in North Dakota. There's a camp opening in Texas. I'm going to tell you about that. If you fight for water, if you fight against oil executives, if you fight against fracking, you're probably going to jail. If you didn't actually do something, they're going to find a way to trump up charges against you. There's a woman, LaDonna Brave Bull Allard's daughter. She got arrested for speeding. She was a passenger, not driving. So she gets arrested for speeding while not driving, which is a new crime. And you know what happened to her? They throw her in a jail cell overnight without clothes. Other people were tailed by police in North Dakota, water protectors, arrested, thrown in a jail cell for going over the speed limit by 1 mile. Meanwhile, Jamie Dimon is making $27.6 million in 2015. And he and his company defrauded you. So the naysayers will say, oh, Jordan, you're just a Bernie bro. You're not supposed to give your opinion. You're a reporter. This is very unethical for you to be doing this. Fuck off. This is what journalists should be doing. Journalists should be holding the powerful accountable, pointing out injustice, exposing injustice. And this is injustice. There's something very wrong in this country when you work all your life, when you go to school, when you work in a job, when you support a family, and people that are supposed to be those that help you grow opportunity, that help you start a business, that help you go to school, that help you buy a home. Banks. That's what banks were supposed to be. They, due to greed, due to immorality, steal your money. They go to the blackjack table with your money and they basically steal it. And what happens to them? They don't go to jail. No. They make $27.6 million a year. Oh, their company has to pay, 20, 30, 40 billion in fines. But what's a fine to these people? They're just going to make it back in a year. If you watch the Showtime program, Billions, with Paul Giamatti, and I forget the guy's name from Homeland. It's about the New York Attorney General's office trying to take down one of these hedge fund billionaires who's defrauding people and operating with insider trading. So the hedge fund guy, the government has something on him, they fine him, and you know what he says? He just writes a check. We'll make it back in 6 months. And it's not just water protectors, by the way. You got black people being thrown in jail for, cocaine. Thank you, Bill Clinton. You got innocent people, poor people being trumped up charges against them all over the country. I've interviewed many of them. I interviewed a guy in Detroit who literally was charged with not paying child support for 3 decades. The problem is it wasn't his kid. An African-American man. That video is up on youtube.com/TYTpolitics. He had a DNA test showing this was not his child, and they charged him anyway with child support. He's still fighting to get his money back. You have in North Dakota, where I covered, I was there 5 times. I was there the last month. You have police literally shooting grenades at unarmed people. One girl nearly lost her arm. Shooting tear gas at unarmed people. One Native American has lost her eyesight. Shooting canisters of freezing water at innocent, unarmed people, delivering hypothermia, PTSD, physical problems, mental problems. No, right now they're going to be off for Christmas, sitting home pretty, with their guns locked up, laughing at what they got away with. While water protectors are facing jury trials in North Dakota for the crime of prayer, for the crime of chaining themselves to a machine that's going to bulldoze their sacred burial grounds and poison their water. Something ain't right here. And by the way, Senator Jeff Sessions becoming Attorney General, not the answer. So we all know Hillary Clinton's corrupt. We all know the corporate Democrats are corrupt. But let me tell you who President-elect Donald Trump is surrounding himself with. Goldman Sachs, which was a huge player in defrauding you, defrauding me, defrauding millions of people. Gary Cohn is the president of Goldman Sachs. As a presidential candidate, Donald Trump frequently attacked Goldman Sachs, casting the powerful investment bank as part of a global conspiracy of shadowy interests that are ripping off America. As president-elect, Trump announced he would be appointing Goldman president Gary Cohn to lead the National Economic Council, the influential West Wing office that helps the president set economic policy. Since then, Cohn's power in Trump world has rapidly increased. Several sources connected to the Trump transition team describe Cohn as an influential voice inside the emerging administration. Cohn, one source said, he has walk-in privileges that allow him to pop into Trump's office whenever he wants. Quote, Gary is brash. He has no trouble interrupting Trump. The source, who has attended meetings with both men, explained, Trump has tasked Cohn with a wide array of responsibilities, including recommending candidates to head the Securities Exchange Commission, developing a strategy to repeal Obamacare, and crafting plans for new infrastructure spending and tax reform, sources say. Yes, let's give the keys to the bank robbers. So Gary Cohn, president of Goldman Sachs, whose investment bank defrauded, I don't even know how many investors out of millions of dollars, maybe even billions. He is now the head of the National Council of Economic Advisors. Apparently with walk-in privileges to our president-elect. The same president-elect who ranted against Goldman Sachs and bankers his entire election. Just because I covered Hillary Clinton and the Democrats more doesn't mean Donald Trump's not corrupt. He is very, very corrupt. Wall Street's big six CEOs have made $159 million since Trump became president. Reports Thursday floated Jamie Dimon's name as a potential Secretary of the Treasury under President-elect Donald J. Trump. But the J.P. Morgan CEO and his Wall Street peers are already seeing a big post-election boost. Forbes calculates that the rally in bank stocks since the election day has increased the value of stock and options held by six big bank CEOs by a collective $159 million. Yeah, the six CEOs of banks that broke the law, defrauded you and me and millions out of their money. They just made $159 million since Trump got elected. Dimon has gotten the biggest windfall as his holdings rose to $69.8 million since Trump defeated Clinton. Behind Dimon is Goldman Sachs CEO Lloyd Blankfein, whose stock and options have risen $63.9 million since Tuesday as the investment bank shares surged 10% in under 3 trading days. The same Lloyd Blankfein that in private bank speeches, Hillary Clinton and Mr. Blankfein had a little chat in front of the bankers, where Hillary Clinton said, "Oh, you guys are the best people to regulate yourselves. Your regulation should be coming from the federal government." Behind Lloyd Blankfein, you have James Gorman, CEO of Morgan Stanley. His shares have risen $10.4 million, while recently appointed Wells Fargo CEO Tim Sloan has seen his stock and options rise $8.3 million. So, here's the playbook. Screw millions of people out of trillions of dollars. Pay a slap on the wrist. Maybe a couple billion in fines. Hey, keep donating to your preferred presidential candidates. Keep doing mortgage-backed securities. Now they're playing around with people's student loans. And then make $159 million when your candidate wins in the span of 2 months. American democracy at its finest. Right, folks? How about, it's that Make America Sane Again is good. I'm going Make America Just Again. Because there's no justice in this country anymore. All right? When innocent, unarmed, progressive people, many of whom, by the way, quit their jobs, left their families to go to North Dakota in the dead of winter to fight for water, to fight for justice, to fight for land, to fight with the Native Americans. There are dozens of people, probably over 100 by now, facing criminal charges for trespassing, for inciting riots, which is ridiculous. There are dozens of people, maybe over 100, that are literally have to pay out of their own pocket for lawyers to fight these charges. Not to mention that the court refuses to move these trials from Bismarck, where you have racist people who I've shown you in my undercover videos are not going to give water protectors a fair trial. This is the America we live in. This is the America that Barack Obama is leaving to us, that bastion of American democracy that the press is already starting with their puff pieces on his legacy. No, this is only going to get worse under Trump. And it's not going to change unless we stand up and make it change. I'm not calling for violence, but this is not going to get any better unless we stand up and demand that it gets better. Bankers should be in jail for what they did. Not just so we could feel good, but because that is the justice system. When you defraud someone, it's illegal. It's supposed to be illegal. But then again, laws don't matter. So when an oil company is involved, the laws don't matter in North Dakota. You can make the laws up as you go. Laws only matter if they could keep down progressives, if they could keep down environmentalists, if they could keep down African Americans, if they could keep down Native Americans, if they could keep down LGBT people. Those are the laws that are enforced. Bankers? Don't be ridiculous. Well, yeah, we'll throw like couple $1 billion in fines. Wall Street will say, oh, look, they're being tough. And then they'll go back and have their caviar at the Christmas party. With the politicians, by the way, because the bankers and the politicians join in for cocktails. When does America get back to being for the American people and not for rich fucking plutocrats? When does that happen? Because it certainly isn't happening now. Now, I'm covering Standing Rock as best as I can while I'm not there. I was there for a month. I had to leave to go cover other pipelines. I just got back from Texas where I covered the Trans-Pecos pipeline. I hope you'll go watch those videos on youtube.com/TYTpolitics. If you weren't here in the beginning, we just posted our montage from the Disappearing Middle Class tour, which shows you a lot of the same people that got screwed over by these bankers. It's from our road trip through the Midwest in October. I'm not ranting to go viral. I'm not ranting, to have fun. I'm ranting because somebody's got to say the truth. Somebody has to speak truth to justice, because corporate media is certainly not going to do it. And part of my job also, I believe, is to help wake people up. My viewers are very awoken. You guys know what's up. But a lot of people aren't. A lot of people are numb to the fact that they've been screwed, and they don't know why they've been screwed. They don't know who is responsible. And they have been screwed so much that they gave up hope that it could be better, that it could be improved, that we could hold people accountable. Well, until my last dying breath, and maybe a little bit after that, I'm going to hold you accountable. And it's a long road, baby. I'm not going to see victory right away. The Young Turks is not going to see victory right away. You are not going to see victory right away. We're not going to get our candidate on the first try, as we saw. We're not going to get the bankers in jail on the first try, because this is a very, very corrupt and complicated and large system that we live in. It was not formed overnight, and it's not going to be destroyed overnight. But I need your help. I want you to share this video. I want you, when you turn this video off, to turn on the Young Turks. They have a marathon going on right now. I think it started at noon Eastern time. It's still going on. It's a marathon to get more donations in to hire additional reporters, because I do need a break from time to time. I've been going 7 days a week. It's tytnetwork.com/go. tytnetwork.com/go. I believe if they get to $500,000 by the end of today, they are going to announce the new reporter they have hired. And I know who that person is. The new reporter they hired is awesome. Awesome. And I think you'll be happy with them as well. So that person's waiting. That person wants to announce it, but we need your help. The donations is going to reporting, to producers, to editors, to the whole shebang. I want you to share this because people need to get awoken. People can't just read these stories about other bankers, other banks having to pay fines and go to sleep. This should not be the norm. This should be unpalatable, not unacceptable. It's not acceptable that Credit Suisse, that Deutsche Bank, that JP Morgan, that Bank of America, that Wells Fargo, that these executives are enjoying their Christmas or Hanukkah or whatever it is, while the people that they fucked, maybe, money isn't everything, but they have to go through another Christmas, looking forward to another year of struggling just to stay above water. That's not right, folks. That's not right. And that's what journalism is here to both expose and help change. That's why you should be a journalist. And if that's not the reason you're a journalist, you should go into PR because you're already in it. One more time, tytnetwork.com/go. Yes, Cliff, I have been threatened during my work. And do you feel scared sometimes? Yeah, I'm human. I feel scared sometimes. Maybe we'll do a Q&A Facebook Live next week. I'll be going next week until my vacation in January. Something's got to change, folks. It's not right what's going on with these banks. It's not right that people who defraud you, defraud me, they don't have to follow the law. And they don't have to face the law. $50 billion in fines is nothing to these people. It's nothing. They're going to make it back in a year. And by giving them fines, you are giving them the precedent. Yeah, go do it. Just be less obvious about it. Don't screw them as much as you did, because we can't bail you out next time. And then they are going to get bailed out, because there's going to come a day when the whole house of cards comes down again, and guess who's going to have to pay for it then? Us. Again. I don't want to live in an America like that. And I refuse to live in an America like that. YouTube.com/TYTPolitics. We are at 138,500 subscribers. I would love to end the year on 140,000. That would be 140,000 subscribers in less than a year. We're at 25 million views. So I thank you. And we're only going to get stronger. We're only going to grow faster by getting more reporters. Again, Cenk has hired a reporter. I know who the person is. He will reveal it as soon as we get to $500,000. If I have anything else to rant about, you'll hear from me tomorrow. tytnetwork.com/go. Have a good day.